Good morning. Welcome to Coffee Chats. Dr. Val here. I apologize if any of you were online yesterday at my appointed time of 9 a.m. on Tuesdays, Central Standard Time, which is when I'm trying to do these, but I had something come up and I was busy all day. I thought I could do it last night, but I couldn't, so here I am today. And it just got a little more sunny out here, so I apologize if I'm squinting now. I don't mean to be. As promised, I'm going to give you a few pointers on produce guides, and there's a lot of news about, well, organic and GMO and what do those terms mean, and so I thought I'd just talk for a few minutes about that. First, and I'm going to show you this now because it's disappearing. My marker and my whiteboard are not agreeing with each other, so I don't know if you can see it anymore. It keeps drying and going away. Alright, I'm going to hold this up, and then I'm going to talk about it. It looks pretty pale. Anyway, so produce codes. Most things that you find at the store are 4-digit. And it will start with a 4 or a 3, and that just means conventionally grown produce. There is another code for if it's international, but generally most of your produce will say 4033 or whatever. That just means it's conventionally grown. Okay. If you see a 5-digit code that starts with a 9, that means it is organic. And the labeling today in stores, I mean, they put signs up all over, oh, this is organic, this is organic. And many foods that, produce especially, that have some other packaging like strawberries, where they come in a box, will have a sticker of some sort that says organic certified, besides the produce code. That's an additional certification that that place can get to say it is certified, it's tested, yes, this is organic, beyond the produce code. Another label that I think I've only ever seen twice is a 5-digit code that starts with an 8. That means it's a genetically modified product. There is no I lost the word. Regulation. There's no bills or laws in this country that says that genetically modified food has to be labeled. So there's no mandate on any of the companies to do that. If they do it, it's of their own volition that they're doing that. So I've only ever seen that actually on produce once, maybe twice, I think, where you see an 8. And of course, it just said whatever the produce was, it just had a regular sign there. But I have seen that once. But again, it is not, it means it's genetically modified, but there's no mandatory labeling laws in this country. So that is what those digits mean. Most of the ones you see will be 4-digit, starting with a 4 or a 3. And that just means conventionally grown and whatever they use on their conventional crops. So that's one thing to look for, but most stores today are really good about labeling, well, this is organic and that's not. So what does that mean? Okay. There's a difference between organic and whether something has been genetically modified. Okay, organic means that it is not sprayed with conventional or really any pesticides, herbicides, fungicides to help the weeds, the soil, the pests, basically. That's what all those sprays are used for, the pesticides, and they're sprayed liberally in conventional produce. Most smaller farms do not use near the level of pesticides that conventional farming uses. So that just means that's been sprayed with X, Y, or Z. The most common conventionally used pesticide, widely used across many, many, many different crops, is Roundup. The main component in Roundup is glyphosate. And that's kind of a buzzword right now because there's a ton of data coming out about glyphosate and the direct link that that has in a very, very negative way on our health, and how it's seeping into and contaminating everything. And since there's no labeling on what was used on anything before, everything that's going into not just packaged products, but just the produce that's on your shelf, is being found to be contaminated with glyphosate. Glyphosate's in our drinking water. It has been since 1996. And it's used in conventional wheat as a drying agent. So whether or not they sprayed the crops, anything with it before, it's actually started being used in 1996 as a drying agent because it kills everything it touches. Okay, it's a very, very potent weed killer. It kills bugs, it kills weeds, but you would have to specifically only target the things you wanted to kill. And farmers got tired of that, and 2006 and 2007, actually, well, even earlier than that, but created crops that were then resistant to spraying the glyphosate or the Roundup directly on them. That is one form of genetically modified crops that we have today. It means it's Roundup ready. We know that term from cotton. Being in Central Texas, we hear that a lot, Roundup ready cotton. Well, crops of different produce are also used in the same process, where they will modify it to be resistant so that it doesn't die when the glyphosate is sprayed on it, directly on it, but everything else dies. That is what the genetically modified part of that is. So if something is organic, it's talking about what has been sprayed on it. It can still be considered organic if you're using all natural pesticides, all natural fungicides. And there's recipes online. I can go online and find concoctions of garlic and salt and vinegar and all these different mixtures, and I can spray those on and around plants for weeds and for pest control. So there are natural options particularly for small farmers. There's some conventional, I won't say conventional, larger scale farms that grow things organically that use natural pesticides and fungicides. But one of the biggest things that we lost in conventional farming was the crop rotation depleted the soil, which let weeds overgrow and pests overgrow, so they had more of a problem with plagues killing off plants and weeds overgrowing because the soil was so depleted, because we quit doing smart farming techniques that man had been doing for thousands of years. And in the last 120 years, man thinking we're smarter, let's grow, hundreds of thousands of acres of one crop for years on end. That's not how nature intended it. And so man trying to outsmart that has created a lot of problems. So the organic is referring to pesticides sprayed on produce. Genetically modified, there's three main types of genetically modified foods today. The biggest two are Roundup Ready crops, which means that the plant won't die when sprayed directly with this poison that kills everything else it touches. The microbes in the soil, the pests that are trying to eat the plant, the fungus, the weeds growing around the plant. It kills everything. And yet that plant won't die because it's got a resistant gene in it. Well, that plant absorbs all of that chemical. And then you eat that in your food, in whatever it is that you're eating. That's where the downside is. The reason that, and even though science is starting to prove it wrong, the reason that the argument that Monsanto has been making that, and these other companies now, that Roundup actually, the patent expired in 2008, 2005, 2008, somewhere in there. And so that same chemical component of Roundup is now being made worldwide by many, many, many different companies. It's found all over the place. Everybody jumped on the bandwagon when that patent expired for the Roundup specific formula. Went generic, basically. But it's found everywhere. Conventional weed killers of every kind. I mean, you can go to the feed store and buy 50-gallon buckets of, this is 45% glyphosate, this is blah, 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 because it works. It kills everything it touches. But the downside of that is now coming out in bucket loads of data. The reason that that has been able to be approved is that Monsanto for decades has said, well, you know, this only affects a chemical pathway. This glyphosate only affects this one pathway, and it's in bugs and it's in plants and it's not in humans, and it's called the shigamate pathway. And it disrupts it completely, and it affects it affects 4 amino acids that organism produces. All right. Amino acids are the building blocks of all life. There's a set number of amino acids. Your body, my body, can make almost all of those amino acids on its own. So it breaks down all the food and everything, and it combines those amino acids are the building blocks for every protein, every cell. I mean, everything that we are composed of is made up of these amino acids. However, there are 8 essential amino acids that we cannot make, that our body has no way to make. The only way that we can get those amino acids is from things that we are eating. That is the plants and the natural microbes that we take in. They produce them and they make them, and when we eat those, now we have all of these amino acids that we need, because those essential amino acids are just as vital of a building block. And the shigamate pathway is in plants and bugs and microbes that are, or not microbes, but bugs, specifically actual bugs, insects, that they are using to make 4 of these amino acids that are essential. So if they can't make them, the plants that are sprayed, that you're eating for your salad or your whatever, they're sprayed with this. They do not contain those amino acids anymore because the plant can't make it. So you're eating that and you're missing out on those amino acids. Those amino acids are critical for the nervous system in particular, found all over in the nervous system, and there's so many pathways. It's like if you had to go through the day of your normal job, and instead of the 26 letters of the alphabet, you were missing 4. And you had to still communicate the same way that you always do, but you're missing 4 letters of the alphabet. I mean, it's in everything, okay? We're not just talking the rare ones, that the Z's and the X's that you never use on a regular basis. You can get around those. No, they're all critical. And so the health ramifications now that are coming out around glyphosate, because we are missing these amino acids, those studies are piling up. I mean, piling up. And they really have been for people who have been aware of this and crying, this is dangerous, this is dangerous, this is going to be a worldwide killer. You don't understand what this is going to do in a few generations to humanity once this is released and continues to be released all over. They were seen as alarmists, they were discredited, but the data now is I'm amazed. It's scary. It is honestly scary, and it's not alarmist. It's reality that man has really screwed this one up, and with the glyphosate. Anyway, so the genetic modification, that is the first type, is plants that are able to withstand that. The second type is the Bt toxin, which is corn. What they did is they inserted a gene into corn so that when the beetles would actually go to eat the corn kernel, it had a toxin inside of it that made their stomachs explode, basically. Punched holes in their gut, made their stomachs explode, and so they would die. So it would kill off all those beetles, and meanwhile the corn would just grow, they'd harvest it. And, well, it's only affecting the bugs, it doesn't have humans don't have those enzymes to have our stomachs explode when we eat corn or punch holes. Or does it? Yeah, it turns out that's not real safe. And that is, today, I've read, the numbers vary depending on the report, but 85 to 95% of corn in this country, and that means not just corn, but corn products. Corn syrup, corn meal, corn flour, corn starch, everything that is made from corn is genetically modified. Unfortunately, that's our reality. Corn is highly, highly dangerous. That is one that I would say always buy, not just with the organic label, because again, the organic is just talking about the spray. You want certified non-GMO corn. That's one, and that means every corn product. Organic corn starch, organic corn, if you use corn meal or corn flour in some recipes. So those are two big genetic modifications that are made that affect everything you buy in the store, basically, today. So I'm going to put below this some links to a couple of things. There is a non-GMO shopping guide. There's an app and their website that tells you lists of companies that all of their produce is non-GMO, or they've partnered and they get their stuff labeled or actually certified, so it's got a little insignia on it that it's non-GMO or that it's organic. Those are different certifications. Okay, they mean different things. So when something is organic, that doesn't mean it's not necessarily. If it's corn and it's organic, that's great, but is it GMO? It needs, corn especially needs a non-GMO certification. So those are two markings you can look for on different things in your grocery store. Produce, not produce, but packaged, if you're buying packaged things, and there is an opportunity to buy something that is non-GMO and organic. I used to think it was crazy, some of the things that would be labeled as organic. I'm like, that's silly. They don't spray honey or whatever, that it's, oh, this is non-GMO honey. Oh, it's just honey. What are you talking about? What they mean is the bees that are grown around crops that are sprayed with pesticides that are carrying that pesticide back to the honey. They're around crops that are genetically modified, and seeds and things that they're pollinating. There's things, I just read something that there are honeys that are, you would think would be good, that they're finding contamination in these pesticides. They're finding pesticide contamination in honey just because of where the bees, where they are. So you know, it's some days it's just scary to go to the grocery store and you think, oh, is there anything good to eat? It is, but part of this is just getting educated. So there is I'm going to put a link below, non-GMO shopping guide. It lists lots of brands. Amazon has their whole produce section. They have organic stuff that you can buy online. There is things like Thrive Market, which I'm not a member of, but apparently, as my understanding is that everything that they provide is certified organic. It's, you know, if at all you can have a certification for that thing, it's certified, non-GMO and organic, and so it's really high quality stuff if you don't know yourself. Another thing about going to the store is there is a list that is produced every year, and this is just talking about pesticide residues. It's put out by the EWG.org, which is Environmental Working Group. They put out a list every year of a dirty dozen of, they go out and they test. They're a testing company. Essentially, they test all kind of home products, but food is one of their areas. They put out a dirty dozen list of the produce that is the dirtiest in terms of the amount of pesticide residue found in your shopping, you know, produce section, where they test it right off the shelf and they say, wow, this consistently is testing for 20 different kinds of pesticides. Or these ones are testing for just 1 or 2, so they're the cleanest. So there's a dirty dozen and a clean 15 list that comes out every single year, and it's just the produce findings that they test. They have a lot more information on their website. I'm going to put their link below too, but I'm just going to read you the dirty dozen for 2017. Number 1 is strawberries. Strawberries have been number 1 for several years. So if something is on the dirty dozen list, I try absolutely to buy organic if I can find it organic. And if not, I don't eat it. I've quit eating strawberries unless I can find them organic. And when I find them organic, at some of the stores, sometimes they'll buy in bulk. This year they bought a lot of bulk organic strawberries and they didn't sell real fast and they went on sale. Oh my word. I bought like, I don't know how many crates of strawberries, and I would freeze them, you know, and keep them in the freezer and then pull them out and I'll use them for smoothies. Go to your freezer section. You can find organic fruits there a lot more than you can often consistently find them in your fresh produce. But strawberries is number 1. Spinach this year is number 2, which is new to the list apparently. But anyway, I'll read them off. Strawberries, spinach, nectarines, apples, peaches, pears, cherries, grapes, celery, tomatoes, sweet bell peppers, and potatoes. Okay, those are the dirtiest, most contaminated, consistently across the nation, that are found to have the most residue. And this is not, some residues you can wash off. Most residues are actually taken up by the fruit or vegetable, and you're eating it. You can't wash it off. So yeah, well, it's great to wash everything in a good, healthy veggie wash, natural thing that, you know, even if you don't have anything else, white distilled vinegar soak, diluted in your sink, soak that for, you know, 15 minutes or 20 minutes. When you get home, if you don't have anything else, you can use distilled white vinegar. That does help to get some of that outside residue, but the inside residue, you can't do anything about that. If the plant has taken it up, because it's in the soil and it's everywhere else, then you're still eating it. So buy organic when you can on those things. The clean 15 just means there's way fewer and lower levels, and that has things like cauliflower, cantaloupe, kiwi, mangoes, avocados, pineapple, cabbage, onions. You know, sweet corn is on that list, but sweet corn, just because it's not sprayed, so it's organic, doesn't mean it's non-GMO. If you want to stay away from the GMO corn, you have to get it organic too. So if you're pinching pennies, the clean 15 list is kind of like, well, okay, I can't afford, sorry, I'm getting a warning level. Okay, I don't know if it's still recording. I have a big fat warning box in the middle of my screen. So I'm going to post that list below. If you're pinching pennies, you can start by not worrying so much about the Clean 15 list. And I will put some links below. I hope this has been helpful, and we'll see you next week on another Coffee Chats. Thanks. And I can't even end it. Oh, bother. Sorry guys, if I'm still live, my iPad is totally frozen. And I just have this, your storage is full. And it won't let me get out of it, so I'm going to turn it off. See you later. Oh look, I'm still on. Huh.